Hello, how you doing? I'm Craig Parkinson. You are listening to the Two Shot Podcast. Sit yourself down, pop the kettle on. We're going to have a nice old chat. Who's it with this week? I'm going to tell you right now. How the devil are you? It's Thursday, but it's a very, very special Thursday. It's our first year podcast birthday. Can you believe it? Can you believe that we've been churning out an episode a week for a year? So this time a year ago, we went to Nottingham and we sat down with Vicky McClure, and that was our first episode. And I suppose over the past week, I've been really thinking about our first year and conversation, the art of conversation and talking. And like, I was thinking back about me. I might waffle on for a bit here, but just bear with. Like as a kid, I was talking at school. I was talking my way out of fights, which, you know, worked about 80% of the time. To the teachers, I was answering back. I was a bit gobby. You know, I was giving them answers, not necessarily the answers maybe that they wanted. You know, I talked my way into a drama course after school because I didn't have the grades for it. And now, you know, I've had a career where I've been talking, albeit talking other people's words. But starting this podcast and this first year, I can't really begin to put it into words, what it's done and what it means. It's been quite overwhelming. I'm really, really honoured. I'm really proud of what we've done and the guests that we've had on. I mean, look, I'm not joking when I say this. I've loved every single person that's come on, loved every episode, because we just get into it and we have a great conversation. And each one of those episodes really, really sort of means something, and sort of means something to somebody else, because the messages that we've had in from you, the listener, it's incredible that one person says something and it can mean nothing to one person, but mean everything to somebody else. And that's it, the art of conversation. I mean, are we talking enough, or are we having conversations that people aren't listening to? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to leave a voice message on your phone if I can help it. I don't want humour or sympathy to be lost on a text message. So to learn, what am I saying? I suppose what I've been learning for the past year is conversation with other people and getting into it and spending as long or as little as it needs to sometimes go really deep and go to places that you wouldn't have a normal conversation with somebody in a cafe or over the pub. Why? I mean, do we not have time for this anymore? I don't know. What I'm trying to say is this year has been incredible. I'm really proud of my career and my job, and I love what I do for a living, but I really love this. This has taken me somewhere totally different that I never really expected, because I didn't really have any hopes for it. I just knew that I wanted to start it and see what would happen and where it would go. And it's grown, it's morphed into something. I'm sure if you go back and listen to episode 1, I'm kind of all over the place. I remember I was having notes on Vicky's table. I don't do that anymore. I do a little bit of research about the person, and then, you know, I'm as much in the dark as you are, the listener. We'll just see where it goes, and that is really exciting to me. So I want to thank all the guests that have been on in this past year. Some of them have been friends, some of them I've known, some of them I've never even met before. But even the friends that I've had on who I thought I'd known for quite a long time, we were having conversations that we've never had before, and I've discovered things about those friends that I never knew. And that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this podcast. So it really means a lot. And then to get the podcast award this year, to be recognised. I mean, just to be nominated was incredible, and then to be on lists of best podcasts and all that. I mean, it's knocked us for six. It really has. So I really want to thank you, the listener, for getting behind it and enjoying it, and listening. We'll talk and you listen. Now, speaking of talking, I'm so sorry I went on a right waffle there. I suppose I wanted to try and get across to you what it means to me doing this podcast. So I hope I was eloquent. I probably wasn't, was I? Anyway, never mind. This is our birthday episode day, and we are popping out. Popping out, what does that mean? 2 episodes. So our first episode, episode 50, is with the fantastic Charlie Cooper. You'll know him as one of the writer and stars of BBC's This Country. Speaking of awards, bloody hell, they have been winning everything left, right and centre. And we were lucky enough this year to be invited down to Bath festivals, and we got Charlie to come to Bath because he lives not far from me in Gloucestershire. So he came to meet us with a packed house, the lovely Waterstones in Bath. It was brilliant, a great crowd. And I'd never met Charlie before, so it was the first time that we'd met. It was one of those. So when you're doing that in front of an audience, I mean, I was a bit nervous because I thought, well, where's this going to go? And it was only our 4th live episode, I think. So we're still finding our feet with that. But I tell you what, it couldn't have gone any better. And I've laughed a lot. I've cried a lot in a few of these episodes, but honestly, I don't think I've laughed as much as this. As you'll hear, and the audience, you were brilliant. Thanks so much for coming out. It wasn't a particularly nice night, was it? Because it was chucking it down, if I remember rightly. Not like now in the UK. It's beautiful. Look, I've waffled on. I'm so sorry. This is episode 50, the Two Shot Podcast, first birthday episode with the fantastic Mr. Charlie Cooper. Enjoy, and I'll see you at the end.
Hello. Wow. That's a lot of people. Thank you for coming. And I apologise on behalf of my sister, but luckily I'm funnier, more interesting than her, so...
I was going to add that, but I thought he'd let him say it.
Actually, I'm not. But it's too late for refunds, isn't it? So, sorry.
Yeah, there's no refunds. We've been trying to get this together for ages, haven't we, Charlie?
Fucking ages, yeah.
And when I first spoke to Charlie, they just started filming the 2nd series, and it was very hard to get together. And then lovely people at Bath Festival asked myself and producer Griff, who is skulking in the corner there with a pair of headphones on, to come over here. So it seemed like the perfect time to get Charlie on. Of course, we are going to talk about This Country, but I think we really need to talk about, and it's what everybody probably wants to hear, is your time as a male model. No, don't.
Right, sorry, can I just... No, I won't go. Do we have to?
We have to start a bit about it.
Yeah, okay. I did it. It was never full time, so it was a part-time thing.
A part-time male model. How did you get picked? Oh, come on.
No, sorry.
Oh, he's embarrassed. Come on. How did you get scouted?
Yeah, on the street, and then I thought it was a scam to begin with, and then my girlfriend at the time sort of was like, "No, you got to pursue it." I was like, "Fine." So I did, and the first shoot I did was with David Sims, who's quite a well-known. He does like Rena Hom.
Right.
He's done loads of like big people, and so I sort of turned up on my first shoot, absolutely terrified, and like a huge team of people. It was like something out of a Hollywood film, like at Andy Warhol's factory, something like that, and it went all right. I mean, you don't have to do much. You just stand there. You're like a clothes hanger. And no one talks to you. You just sort of they throw clothes on you. And then...
Do they talk at you?
A little bit. Yeah. But it's fine. I'm happy with that. and then, yeah, it's when I got an agent and then did a few more other jobs. But The problem is with the internet, you can't. It's still when people Google my name, it's just all it comes up like topless shots of me, and it's.
I didn't see any of those in my research.
Oh really? Oh good. Maybe they've been taken down.
We can all do that after, everybody. Let's go back to school in Siren.
Yeah.
How was growing up there?
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I still live there now. 28. I should, fly the nest, but it was so. It's so safe. Like we went to really sweet sort of twee primary school. Me and Daisy. She was 3 years above me, and it was just sort of everyone was sort of wrapped up in cotton wool. Really, sort of nothing really bad. It's like something out of Beatrix Potter book, but Siren Sister itself, it's sort of it's an interesting place, but you don't realise until you leave.
Yeah,
and we sort of discovered that.
Did you feel the need? Because sometimes in those small places, they feel the need that when they hit a certain age, you just got to break free and get to the city. Yeah,
totally. I mean, I spent Daisy especially. She was going out to the clubs when she was like 13. She was a bit of a wild child. Well, I sort of.
What, the clubs in Siren?
Yeah, there's one. I say clubs. Club. And then, but I was sort of, playing Football Manager in my room like a weirdo. But what was the question? I've forgotten the question.
Just about growing up in Siren. Sorry, I'm still laughing.
No, it's nice, but it's not the real world, really.
I suppose it's about breaking free. Did you get to a point at an age where you just went, no, I've had enough, I've fallen out of love with the cotton wool, I'm closed in, I want to break free?
Yeah, totally. I mean, as soon as it's like college time, you're sort of going out a bit more and, you want to meet new people and you get into drinking and stuff like that and you realise Siren's fucking shit. And then, spent so many years wanting to move to London. All my friends did. But obviously, I went to university and we'll talk about that later, dropped out and then I had no money, so I couldn't go anywhere. So I was stuck at home in sort of, important years of my life. I wished I was anywhere else. And then had to see all my friends sort of go and get jobs in London. And I'm still the only one who lives in Siren. But it got to, since doing the show, it was quite cathartic in a way because it got everything off my chest about what I hated about living, in the Cotswolds and Siren Sister. And then as soon as I did that, I suddenly was like, it's quite nice. I quite enjoy it. And now we're busy. It's going back home after being in London for a week or whatever. It's so nice, and we both really appreciate it now.
You do get to an age where you really appreciate where you live.
Oh, totally. And maybe something my life's over a little bit.
Because I know my son's, he's only 6 at the moment, and he's being raised in a small Gloucestershire town, and I know that when he hits 14, he's going to absolutely hate it and just want to leg it.
Well, the best thing that everyone used to say at school, it's a fucking shithole, Siren Sister. And you look around, it's the most beautiful Cotswold stone, like parish church. It is one of the nicest places to live, but really boring if you're young. And you do have to find your own entertainment. But that was basically what this country was about, so... Yeah.
How was school for you? She was 3 years above you. Did she look after you at school? Did you have a good relationship then?
She did not look after me at all. I mean, we've always got on, but at school we weren't particularly close. I didn't particularly enjoy school. I mean, I was very sort of uninspired, especially going to secondary school. It was very different. Primary school was really... we both really enjoyed it. It was quite creative and they really encouraged you. And then as soon as you got to secondary school, you sort of got lost and it all became about, exams and grades.
Were you not very academic?
No, not really. I wasn't badly behaved. I just never listened. I'm not academic at all. And so I didn't struggle particularly. I was such a, middle of the road. Didn't excel in anything. Didn't do badly in particularly anything.
Because those children, the middle of the road, can just get lost.
Yeah, and I've sort of, I did in a way, because I sort of came out of school not knowing, what I wanted to do, not being passionate about anything other than football, but I did that outside of school. So, yeah, and Daisy always had drama. When she, when she was a kid, that was the one thing she wanted to do, so... She always had doing that at school and at college, so she sort of had an outlet, really. But no, it's different for me. But yeah.
Did acting never come up for you at school?
No,
Was it
no,
not something
I hated it. I was so embarrassed. You know, the idea of doing anything like that at the time would have been mortifying. I remember we did something at drama in like year 10 or year 9 or something. And it was like when you're in the room and you get in groups and you do like little role plays. I remember doing one, and I can't remember what the idea was, but I was pretending to be a big issue seller. And because I thought it was just be sort of really edgy. And I did it, and then all I remember is the teacher telling me to get out. It's like, get out! It's like, it's so offensive, blah, blah, blah. And I think from that moment on, I was like, oh God, I can't ever do anything like this again. You know, when you're trying to sort of be, you know, you think you're being, it's not in a bad way, you think you're being clever. And yeah, that still stuck with me, actually. That's quite sad.
Yeah, he killed that creative output dead, didn't he?
Fucking bastard.
So end of secondary school, still no idea what you wanted to do, what you wanted to be?
No, I went to, we had a college right next to our school. So when it came to choosing subjects, I saw that you could do a BTEC in sports science. And I thought, okay, well, I like football. So, you know, I still had a very sort of like, you know, I didn't know whether, I mean, my dad was always sort of coaching football. He used to coach us. I thought, okay, maybe possibly could be a football coach or something to do with football. So anyway, went to college. Well, you know, my friends were doing sort of proper like, you know, biology and maths and shit like that. And then had 2 years at college, and I enjoyed it. But our teacher at the time was just he was useless. So when you used to give him homework, he used to sort of give everything a top grade.
Right.
Which is good in a way, but it meant you never learned anything. So I came out of college with really good grades when I didn't deserve them, which meant when it came to choosing university, I managed to get into I went to Exeter. So it was quite a good university, but I was way out of my depth as soon as I got there. And I did sports science at Exeter. And I just, after like 3 lectures, I realised I don't know anything. Everyone else knew so much. So, which is, yeah, it's these little things, you know, great, like, that happens that can completely alter the course you're on. So, yeah, 18 at college, still had no intention on doing anything sort of performing or writing. Was doing sports science, and then realised after a few weeks I fucking hated it, but didn't drop out until after 2 years. Which was just disaster.
A long time.
Yeah, a really long time. I'm still paying it off now, the debt. And what was I going to say? And then, yeah, 2 years. But the only reason why I stayed on was because I sort of got into music and stuff while I was at uni and realised it doesn't. Sometimes in life, you realise what you want to do. You only realise what you want to do until you do something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But you have to do these things to know that. And I sort of got into music and, you know, didn't want to do anything. I sort of wanted to be creative. I started learning the guitar just because I had to have like a creative outlet.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't getting that at uni. And then because me and Daisy left, she went to drama school, she went to RADA, but we both left at the same time. When I was 18, she was 21. So she was in London, at RADA doing her drama course, and I used to be so envious of her because, you know,
because she was doing the drama course.
No, not because she did drama, because she was in London, and you know it was exciting. And
right.
So the older I got, the more that's the place I wanted to be. And then, but she hated drama school. Absolutely, it was begging me to come every weekend to sort of keep her company, and so I did, and I sort of ended up going more and more and more. And then I remember going one time, and we were sat in sort of Nando's somewhere near her sort of uni digs. And I sort of like, I basically broke down. I was like, I fucking hate uni. I can't tell mum and dad because they'll be livid. They weren't in the end. But she was like, well, why the fuck are you doing it? Just, you know, just quit.
Yeah.
Just don't go back. And I never returned. And I was only going up for a weekend, and I left all my stuff in my house at uni, didn't go back to pick it up, and it was the most liberating thing I've ever done. And I still had loads of rent to pay on the house and stuff like that, but I couldn't face it. I hated the people I lived with. I hated the course. I hated Exeter as a place. It was too similar to the Cotswolds. And fair play to Daisy, she really encouraged me, even though she was having a real tough time. I'm sure she'll tell you that when you do the podcast with her. But so
I mean, that is a clean break.
Yeah, massively. And then as soon as I got to, and then I was like, well, I can't go back to the Cotswolds. And she basically said, well, just sleep on my floor in London, because she was so lonely and wanted some company. So her third year at RADA, I slept on her floor in this sort of tiny uni digs opposite RADA, and the room was just, it's tiny. And yeah, I stayed there for a year, and it was the most sort of formative year of my life, and it was a year that we really got close, and our relationship really took off from there. And we talk about back home, people we sort of found funny and stories, and that was sort of the seed of this country, basically.
Yeah. Just before we go on, I just want to go back and
of course.
Ask about your mum and dad.
Yeah.
And what did they do for a living?
That mum's an artist, a card illustrator, and my dad sort of had a series of really shitty jobs, sort of recruitment and sort of sales and stuff like that. He's never enjoyed anything he's done. And credit to him, he was always, you have to find your passion, you have to find something you want to do. And he was always quite creative and talented at loads of things, but never could find his thing. And so, yeah.
Did you find that frustrating?
Massively. And I can look at him now, he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. I think, you could have been someone, but he wasn't. And it is sad. But again, they're both so supportive. And they've always said, you've got to pursue what your passion and what you enjoy doing, and don't settle for anything else. So when I said that I was going to quit uni after 2 years, I was, yeah, fine, don't worry about it, come back home and, we'll sort it out, which is amazing. And
but they sound so supportive.
Oh,
your
totally. None of this would have ever happened without them.
Why do you think that you were worried in telling them that you were going to quit uni?
Oh, I think just naturally they think you're on a path and that you're settled. So I didn't really talk to them much about being unhappy. So I think it was quite a shock for them, but they weren't particularly bothered, but in a good way.
Yeah, of course.
Not a neglectful way.
Just parents, and they just want their children to be happy, whatever they do, I suppose. I mean, it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but it is true.
Yeah, totally. And I'd be the same. It's, and I think because from my dad's personal experience, he knows what it's like not to find that thing. I think he really wanted us to do the same. And again, with Daisy growing up, she was drama clubs and competitions, and he would drive her everywhere. But he's got really severe car sickness problems. So the amount of times we'd be in the car with him driving to like a drama exam or a drama competition, he just he comes out of the car, he's got vomit all down his top. But we really soldiered on, bless him. So so supportive.
And was it a happy household growing up?
Yeah, really happy. Sort of. Yeah, I mean, we're very, very close as a family. I mean, I still live with my parents at the moment. I'm trying to move out, but it was sort of we're so close. Always, lots of family holidays, and my dad's so funny. Like, always, we all connect through humour and finding the same things funny. And it's great when you're working with siblings that you can recall all these sort of amazing, funny things that happened on holiday and have those shared experiences that are so useful sort of for the writing and stuff like that. So that's really nice.
So let's jump back forward now to your year back in London. Did you have any idea during that year? Obviously you felt freer because you weren't back doing something that you hated, which was sports science. Did you have any idea where you wanted to go, or did the relationship with you and Daisy, obviously it blossomed and it grew.
Yeah, I've always been envious of Daisy. I mean, she's such a free spirit and very impulsive, and other than Rada, she'll only ever do stuff she sort of wants to do, and she's always been very lucky. And if she'd buy a scratch card, she'd win a fiver, stuff like that. And anything she turned her hand to, she'd be good at, and I was always envious of that. And so it was quite infectious sort of being, with her that year. And it sort of like fed into me, I guess. And I sort of realised that I want to do something creative, not quite sure knowing what it was. I sort of, I liked music, I was playing guitar, but I knew it was never going to be anything serious. But it was a start. And for her, when she was at RADA, she's always loved comedy, we both have, but she hated how serious drama school was and the routine and how strict it was. And I'd go and see her. She'd be in a play like Macbeth or something, and she'd be so funny. Like people would be laughing, but it'd be meant to be totally serious because she's got such a comedy face, and naturally she'd be so good at it. And so that was definitely her calling. And then, in that year I didn't really work. I sort of signed on for about 6 months. And we had no money at the time. Our parents didn't have any money. And we'd have about 20 quid to do the shopping every week.
Was it back in Siren?
No,
now?
this is still in London, that year. And I remember one week trusting Daisy to do the weekly shopping. She came back with a packet of fags, a bottle of wine, and Big by Tom Hanks on DVD. We didn't even have a DVD player, so I don't know, fucking annoying. But that situation was great because she needed me just to be there and to be there with her, and I needed that experience to be, it was sort of my, gap year. I hate the word gap year, but it's sort of my year to sort of,
Well, you had to kind of figure out what
and
you were doing and where you were
You
going
don't
to go,
realise, as soon as you're out of education, it's like, wow, I can suddenly hear myself think. Like you're on this conveyor belt for so long, told what to do. And for the first time, it was like, wow, this is brilliant. I can hear myself. I can be someone, that I want to be. And anyway, I sort of worked in various, I did have a couple of jobs when I was in London, one being top shop on Oxford Circus, which was a fucking nightmare, but I quite enjoyed it. But, and then after that year was up, we both moved back to the Cotswolds, basically back with our parents.
Was this after the end of RADA and
Yeah.
the end of that year?
The end of that year. So we were only there for a year. Well, I was there for a year. And then, but I had that year I had the best, we had the best fucking times. We used to laugh and,
Is that why you got scouted for a model in London?
That was later.
I'm sorry I keep bringing it up.
Yeah, well, I've wiped that from my own life. But so yeah, we moved back to the Cotswolds, and then we moved in back with our parents. And our parents lived lived on sort of the edge of our town, Cirencester, sort of like on an estate, a 2 up, 2 down house. And me and Daisy had to share a room, which was horrendous. Well, we had done that for a year, but we sounds so weird. We had to share a bed, which is in the there's no way that won't sound weird. But it was a difficult. We had literally no money, and there was nothing else we could do. And Daisy at that time was going up for auditions, and she had an agent, so she was having castings and stuff. So she spent the next sort of couple of years doing that.
Was she travelling a lot? I don't really want to speak too much about Daisy because she's not here to talk about herself. But was she travelling a lot back into London?
Yeah, back getting on the National Express and to London and back. And again, it's difficult when you've got no income.
Yeah,
so it's sort of and that was, and for her that first experience of being rejected and not getting called back was really, really tough. And she felt that rather they don't prepare you for the practical side of acting and the casting process, and she knew nothing, and she completely freeze in auditions, and she just wasn't getting anything.
Did you get obviously you got more of an insight into the acting world through Daisy? How did that make you feel? Did that make you feel that's definitely not what I want to do?
Oh, totally. Yeah, even more so.
Why would you? It's madness.
Why? Yeah, yeah. And then then I just sort of I did some bar work back in our town, worked at Argos for about 6 months, but which was great material, by the way, which I didn't realise that until later on. Quite a few characters came from that. And then we sort of started, and it was actually our dad who said to Daisy, he said, you got to, if you thought about doing any writing and or doing comedy, stand-up comedy. And Daisy, she's quite lazy, but if she's excited about something, she'll be keen. But he pushed her into sort of doing stand-up comedy locally, just sort of like open mic type stuff. And
in Siren?
It was around one in Cheltenham.
Right.
And she did it about 2-3 times. I never actually went to watch her, but apparently it was dreadful. And she did this sort of awful character. I think it was like an air hostess character. There was it was something like belonged in sort of Little Britain. And she said she remembers seeing our mum, who in the audience watching, in the back of a room, and she was obviously on stage and no one was laughing, and there was a few sort of like, oh my God, this is awful. And she could see my mum at the back, and her heart was just, she could physically see her heart just break. It was just so sad, and that haunts me to this day. But again, a great experience, and I think once you've died on your feet once in front of an audience, you can do anything if you've embarrassed yourself once. And so she did that, realised it wasn't quite for her. And then she had an idea about an idea for a character that she did in her final piece at RADA, and which eventually became Kerry. But it was very different, and people loved it when she did it at RADA, and it took her a while to sort of, after drama school, to get back to find her mojo again. She felt like she had lost a lot of her creativity.
What about you at this time, though? Because I
was at Argos. but no, I mean...
But that year that you had in London, and you felt much freer than what you did, and then you were moving back home.
Yeah.
Did you feel stifled again by moving back home, or...
Yeah, no, I did, totally. So my plan at the time was, okay, I'll move back, earn a bit of money, then hopefully move again. But again, still not finding my passion or what I wanted to do.
You can't just go fishing all the time.
No, exactly. No one's going to pay me for that.
Charlie likes to fish.
I'm not very good, but I love it. So that was, again, it was so difficult. And even at the age of, I was sort of 20, 21, you feel that if you don't find something soon, your life's going to be over, which is completely wrong.
Well, it's absolute bullshit, because there's no rush. You get to it
everyone
at whatever time.
Is on their own sort of path, but you can't help but feel pressured about what your friends are doing, and
also that society going, you need to find
100%.
Your outlet now, or if you're going to be creative, do this. Do
yeah,
that.
and again, lucky that we had parents that didn't do that.
Yeah,
and I know most of my friends, their parents would have kicked us out on our ass and gone get a job, and then. So Daisy had the idea for the character, and then she started writing a really, really rough script around this character. And
at this point, was it just like a one-woman thing, or were you?
It was just.
Into this?
It started actually. The whole idea was that she's quite ambitious. She wanted to film this thing on just a digital camera, but it was like turned up. It was like a selfie before selfies were sort of around. But she was sort of filming videos. But the whole point was the character didn't know how to work the camera.
Right.
And then she had the idea about Kerry's mum, so she'd have this sort of voice recorder, and she would play and have conversations with the mum and do like tiny little videos and put them up on YouTube and stuff. And they were really good, really fucking funny. And I remember my dad thinking, right, you've got to do something. So she wrote a very rough script, but she couldn't, she's useless with computers and couldn't type it up. She's like, oh, Charlie, will you do this for me? I was like, oh, fine, I'll give it a go. So I just typed up, sort of a few scenes for her, and they were so fucking funny. And then I just gradually became more involved. And then I was like, okay, let's sit down in a room and let's do this together, because I would love to be involved. And then we started writing more characters, and then we started writing plots. And
how was it writing together? Because I've spoken to a lot of people that write together, and they say it's really, really difficult. And also, you're adding even more pressure because your siblings together.
Yeah. The good thing about siblings is that you can be completely honest with each other, and we are probably more than we should be. But if I said something, she'd just go, "Nah, shite, do something else," and I'd say the same to her. So that's really, if you did that with a friend, it's difficult because you got to sort of tiptoe around things.
But it's obviously great with a sibling. You got a shorthand. You can just go straight to it.
Totally. And for me and her, the best way we've ever communicated was through comedy and through humour. So we always found the same things funny, even though they weren't meant to be. So it just clicked straight away, and it was so easy, and it was so much fun, and it was basically an extension of what we did in the room in London. We were just typing up the things that we were saying to make each other laugh.
And were you reminiscing of home when you were in London?
All the time. We'd be talking about people we went to school with. What would they be having for their tea right now? What would they be watching on TV? And so all those sort of things, So
do you think you were missing it in London, or were you subconsciously missing home?
Subconsciously missing it, I think. Her more so. And yeah, it's sort of, I had no idea it was going to sort of have that effect later on. But, and then, we wrote a really sort of rough idea for a show quite quickly, and then sent it to Daisy's agent, who sent it out to loads of production companies. So we were lucky that Daisy had an agent, so we had an in straight away, because otherwise I don't know how you get past that. And so we sent it out to loads of production companies, and they all came back fairly interested and sort of come in for a meeting. And so when you get those emails, me and Daisy are like, fucking hell, this is a big break. We'll be bloody millionaires by next year. This was 2010, so we didn't realise what a roller coaster it would be. And then we got the National Express to London, had various meetings with different people, and that was amazing. Going into these offices and seeing pictures on the walls of various famous comedians, and going, oh my god, this is insane. And then we picked one production company that we sort of felt that we got on with, and we felt that they got the show and that we wanted to do, and then we started developing the show with them for about 2-3 years, and it was a really slow process.
That long?
Yeah, because the producer we were working with had 6-7 other projects, and we were bottom of the list, so we weren't priority. And then we'd write a script, we'd send it off, not hear anything back for about 3 weeks. We'd chase them, nothing. And then suddenly he'd come back with a list of notes. And then we'd do the notes, type it up again, send it off, not hear anything back. So it was such a slow process. But we were so naive because we didn't know any different. And I don't know, we thought, okay, we'll stick with this, we'll see what happens.
But obviously you found it frustrating.
We did at the time, and because we weren't working, so Daisy was still going up for auditions, not getting any. And then we sort of we did a shared job as cleaners in our local office block, and we were the worst cleaners of all time. We did that for about 6 months, but it was great because we did it in the evenings, and we'd talk about work, and we'd talk about...
That sounds like another show in itself.
I know, we got to write something about it. Daisy would use the same cloth for the kitchen tabletops as she would in the toilets. I am not joking. And we did get sacked in the end, and deservedly so. Our manager, that's our boss, Paul Winters, he was from Birmingham. He was a really sweet guy, but he used to leave us these notes in the cleaning cupboard when we just start work in the evening, saying, look, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. And poor bloke, he really sort of kept with us for a long time. But when... This is so bad. So when we used to... So, for example, here, if we were cleaning it, we'd only clean the places where you could see as you walk through the door. So it's like wherever the light was hitting, and if you could see the right light on the table, it'd just be one swirl on the cloth, and it was dreadful. So yeah, thankfully that didn't last long, but it was good because it meant we could talk about stuff and ideas, and we did have a laugh doing it, which was great. And in those sort of situations when you haven't got money, you're thrust together, and it would never have happened if we had money. I would have probably gone to do another course at another university somewhere else, or so not having that options was the best thing for us. And
So it actually came out of having no option.
Yeah,
didn't
totally, 100%. And it came from, boredom, frustration, being so uninspired and it's still fucking sharing a bed in a fucking room at in our early 20s. It was horrendous. And it wasn't all, we used to fight. Like when we fight, we are unbearable. Our mum has to physically break us up.
But when you do fight as brother and sister, do you get back together quite quickly?
Again, yeah, because you have to. Because, we can be fighting and suddenly one of us will say something that the other person finds funny and then it's completely broken and forgotten about it. So that's really special and we don't hold grudges, so we can get stuff out in the air straight away. And that's really nice. And although she'll probably say that I'm a bit of a sulker, which I can be. But if she gets too personal, that is annoying. But yeah, our poor mum had to really, she had her work cut out. And then, so where was I?
So
production companies.
Still waiting to hear back. You've been sending scripts
Yes.
and you've been waiting maybe 3 or 4 weeks to hear anything back.
Yeah, and then we did I remember getting a call from the producer who said, I've got enough money if you want to do shoot a taster, a few minutes. I was like, this is amazing. Of course we do. So we wrote like a couple of, it was like 1 or 2 scenes, and we shot that in Cirencester where we live. And
at that time, was this specific script at the stage it was? Was it set in Siren, or would you?
It was very different to what this country what this country is. It was initially called Kerry, and it was just about Curtin didn't exist, so it was about Kerry, and she had a best friend called Dale who actually became a love interest, and it was like a stupid rom-com, which was completely wrong for the show that we wanted to create, but that again, we have to make those mistakes to realise what's good about it. So anyway,
how was the taster?
We shot did I tell you who was in it? Michael Socker.
Was it?
He played part of Dale, and he came down to Siren, and we had seen him in is it Being Human?
Yeah.
And we were like, we love him in that. We'd love to see if he could do it, and he was quite happy to do it, which is amazing. So he came down for like a day, shot this taster, and it was quite good. And it was sort of in the style of this country. It wasn't a mockumentary, but it was shot in that sort of very handheld, rough, raw way. There was a lot of improv, and then we had that, and then we sent that taster and a script to broadcasters. So I think ITV, Channel 4, BBC, and ITV and BBC came back and really very interested in having a meeting. And again, it was another, fuck, this is it. This is amazing. This is our moment.
Here we go again.
This is 2012. So we had a meeting with BBC, and it was meant to be with Shane Allen, who ended up commissioning the series. But in this really strange sort of turn of events, he had buggered his knee on a bouncy castle the day before a children's party, so he couldn't be there. And things like that just changed the whole course for the next 5 years, but I'll come back to that. So we met here. So we met a guy at BBC. I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't a great meeting. I don't think he quite got it, whereas Shane would have got it completely. And then we had a night of meeting with ITV, who were great and offered more money. And at the time, again, we were quite naive, and the producer was like, I think we should go with ITV. We were like, yeah, let's do that. And we did. And they commissioned a pilot, which was the worst experience of my life. As soon as
were you in the pilot at the time?
No, so only writing with Daisy. So as soon as the pilot got commissioned, all the execs at the production company suddenly got interested, and they were never interested before. But now it's like, okay, there's something could get commissioned here. So they all came in, and they just ripped it to shreds, and they're like, this won't work. Kerry's mum was always initially going to be off screen, and you would never see her, you could only hear her.
That'd never work, would it?
No, exactly. Well, totally. And they said that was just that's ridiculous. You've got to see the mum. So we cast this lady as Kerry's mum, who became this sort of horrible sort of caricature. It was quite offensive. It was like this sort of benefits cheat sort of mum, and it was just, there was no sort of warmth. It lost all its originality, and it lost its warmth basically, and it became this sort of horrible comedy. It was so, I can't even explain to you. It was so bad, and we felt so. Once you compromise on one thing, you ended up compromising on everything, and we learned that. And everything we were told to do went against our gut instinct, and the show completely changed. So from the taster that we really liked, just became this. I'm trying to think of something similar. It was just, I don't know. And Kerry became this sort of Vicky Pollard type character that was so two-dimensional. No, one-dimensional? Whatever. But it was really bad. Just
gratuitous and not
awful.
right. And also, as you said, if it takes the heart and the warmth out of it, then you lose it all.
The execs obviously thought, they thought, okay, they I don't know. And you trust people. You think, okay, these people have been in the business for years. They know better. But of course, they don't. And we shot the pilot. We had a week in Cirencester where we filmed it. And I remember being behind the monitors watching, and I didn't even have a say in terms of giving notes, or I just was so totally shunned to the back and lost all my confidence. And Daisy, I was watching Daisy in front of the camera, and she just didn't know what she was doing, and that was soul destroying, especially when you were so excited and you think this is the big break, and you've worked so hard, and then the pilot was utter disaster, and it was just and then I remember we submitted it to ITV, and they came back basically saying, what have you done? What is this? They commissioned something that they wanted to be like the taster, and it became something completely different.
How did it change then? Who was involved in changing it so much?
The execs at the production company, and they had a lot of American bosses as well. They had an American sort of branch, obviously in America, and then an English branch, and they had to sort of sign everything off from these American execs who obviously don't get it. And one of the first things they said was the cast were too ugly, the Americans. And bearing in mind my sister was a lead, I found that quite funny, but she didn't. But again, and they didn't get, in America it's all about the hero. Even you watch Friends, and they're all great looking, and they've got good jobs, and in British comedy is completely different. We take the piss out of ourselves, and it's about the tragedy in life. And so that was a big thing. And it's just too many people involved, too many voices, and we were like frightened mice. We didn't know, we couldn't stand up for ourselves. We just went along with it, and we thought, okay, if the pilot, if a series does get commissioned, perhaps we will have enough courage to have our say and try and sort of get it back to what it used to be. So basically ITV, saw the pilot and then dropped it, and that was horrendous.
The best thing that ever happened, really.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything to do with it wasn't ITV's fault in any way. They were so willing it to be good, and they had a lot of belief in us, but there was nothing there that they could see had any particular potential, and it didn't. It was so bad.
But it's so funny to think that it was ITV. And I know it's obviously morphed into a different show to what it was, but to think of your show on ITV...
It's completely wrong.
Doesn't work, does it at all?
Totally.
So what was the next stage? Oh, and what did you learn from that then? Did you...
We learned... We
to trust your gut, maybe? I don't know.
Totally. Trust... I mean, that's the thing I always say now is if it doesn't feel right, you have to say something. You have to question it.
It's so important, isn't it?
It's so important. And, your instincts, you have to listen to your instincts. And especially Daisy, who's so creative and so in touch with, that side, for her to go against her instincts is completely wrong.
And at this moment, how were you feeling? Because at the moment, what we've been discovering about you is you're a bit lost and we don't really know what you want to do. Did you feel that this was going to be your creative outlet and this was going to be something for you?
I really enjoyed the writing to begin with, and I thought, okay, this is something, because I've always been so passionate about comedy and sort of, a bit of a comedy nerd, and when we were in London, we used to watch everything. I used to love Hancock and Steptoe and Son and Dad's Army and stuff like Curb, and started everything. So yeah, and then I really got into the writing and thought, oh, this is something I really want to do. And then obviously having the experience with ITV and the pilot, yeah, it was horrendous. And then after we got dropped from ITV, the production company dropped us.
Right.
Which was brilliant, but at the time it was like, what the fuck do we do now? And we're on our own, and Daisy had an agent. I wasn't represented at the time.
Did you feel that you'd gone back to square one?
Totally, even further back, because the agent was fucking useless. I won't say what they were called.
It's all right, we can bleep it out, don't worry.
But,
you don't know, you won't say it. Sorry.
And so the agent said to us, she said to us, that's as close, nearest I get.
Thin ice.
She said, right, so, okay, ITV have dropped it, production company have dropped it, and one thing you can't do is take this to the BBC because they'll be really offended that you turned them down in the first place. And we're like, what are you talking about? And, you know, as soon as she said that, we're like, right, we've got to get rid of her. And it was like the night of the long knives. Everyone was just stabbing each other in the back. So we got a few knives in the back, and then we were fucking pulling them out, shoving in other people. And we just basically said to our agent that we don't want to be with any anymore. She was really unsupportive throughout the whole thing. And so we were, you know, still in our parents' house, back to, you know, we were worse than when we were back to square one, because the show that we wanted to do, that we found out had a debt that if anyone wanted to take it on, like a broadcaster, they would have to pay. It's like turnaround costs.
Yeah.
So we learned that we had 300 grand debt from the show, from the pilot that we shot. And it was like, a show doesn't like, you know, 300 grand to shoot this awful pilot. It was just, yeah, it was horrendous. And I was totally devastated. But amazingly, Daisy was really strong at that point and was like, this is not, she was like, I just know this isn't the end. There's something, we got to keep going. There's still, we can still do this. And again, we had signed a really bad contract, so we'd signed all the character rights away. Oh. And again, because we didn't know what we were doing, and the agent was fucking useless, and it was, yeah, a nightmare. So, you know, what did we do after that? And then Daisy had, oh yeah. So Matt Bainton is our dad's cousin, so he's like a second cousin, is that, or whatever?
Yeah.
And so we'd never met him, but we knew he was doing Wrong Mans at the time, and that was on BBC.
Do you want to know who Matt Bainton is? If you've got small children, you know him from Horrible Histories, and he did The Wrong Mans with James Corden. He's a fantastic actor. He's a very, very funny guy.
Lovely guy. And so we just thought, oh God, can we, you know, email him and see if he's got any advice or anyone he knows that we could, you know, send it to the BBC. And we sent a taster, and he was like, oh yeah, of course I can help you. Never met you, but we're related in a way. So yeah, let's, you know, let's make it happen. And he got in touch with Shane, I think. What was that? Or did Daisy get it? Maybe Daisy got in touch with Shane first. I think Daisy got his email from Matt Bainton and went direct to Shane and said, look, I know that you, basically just said the whole story. And so Shane, I know that you were aware, like the taste that we submitted a couple of years ago. This is what happened. It's been a bit of a disaster. Is there any way we could, you know, have a meeting or talk about doing something? And then straight away he replied saying, yeah, come in for a meeting.
That's brilliant that she was so honest and just
oh my God, yeah.
said everything.
No,
so many people would just go, yeah, so this, oh.
No, yeah, she did. And she said, look, we've been, you know, we've fucked up basically.
Yeah.
And she did send an email that she would stand outside his office in a karate costume every day until he would come out and talk to her.
And Shane Allen's the head of comedy at the BBC.
He's the big cheese. And we actually bought a karate costume from a charity shop in town. And we had it at home. And luckily she didn't have to wear it because he replied straight away saying, yeah, don't do that. Just come in for a meeting, for fuck's sake. And so we went in for a meeting, explained everything that happened, explained about the show that we wanted to create. And he was like, well, brilliant, leave it with me and it's all going to be fine. And I remember, it was so clearly now, I was walking out that day and just being like, fuck, this is, you know, from thinking you've got it all to losing it and then sort of thinking you've got it again was the most incredible feeling. And then, so basically me and Daisy, we got home and we were like, right, we're going to start from scratch. We're going to, we're going to be really strong. We're not going to get, we've got to make sure that we're with the right people. And an amazing thing about Shane is that he's great at putting people together, knowing that who's going to get on, on a personal level and a creative level as well. And he put us with a producer called Simon Mayhew Archer. And that was, the best thing he could have done. And we had a meeting with him and we just hit it off straight away. And Simon is so talented and the show wouldn't be what it is without him or the director. So he basically saw me and Daisy find it very difficult to articulate ourselves about the show we wanted to do, but Simon just got it and he knew. And it'll be a few references here and there. And he's young, he's sort of similar age to us, and that's so important. And so we started developing the show again with him, and we started from scratch. The only thing that remained was Kerry and Kerry's mum. And Simon was like, right, we can't set it in Cirencester because it's too big. There's too much stuff for them to do. And he was like, we've got to put it in the smallest shitty village we can find. And of course, it's such a simple thing, but it makes so much sense because it means they're so much more isolated and it's more suffocating. And the show...
boredom sets in so much quicker.
Because there's too much to do in Cirencester. I don't know what probably like 20,000 people. There's a swimming pool. There's
hands up who's been to Cirencester. That's a good amount of people. You know what Cirencester's like.
I mean, I say there's, too much to do. There's not, but for those characters...
For an afternoon, it's all right.
It is, yeah.
No offence to the people of Cirencester. I go there quite a lot.
No, you can offend them. They're fucking annoying. Got a lot of enemies there, actually. And then, where was I?
The changes. So he couldn't...
Oh, yeah.
Simon was saying he couldn't set it in Cirencester because of...
Yeah.
It was too large.
So it's things like... he's so good. And we worked for him for a few weeks and he just picked out all the good things, the silly things that we loved, and that was just amazing. It was a completely different experience because before the producer at the old place would have been, people won't get that. It's too weird or it's too specific. And so Simon really encouraged us to be weird and to go to town on the specificity of things, which me and Daisy loved doing. And then Simon pretty quickly, should I say, Shane commissioned the series, basically.
Straight away, no pilot?
No pilot. We had a couple of meetings.
Kind of unheard of. Everything has to jump throuu hoops nowadays.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So lucky. And he had so much faith in us from that one taster, and he could just see it straight away. And, I don't know how often that happens, but that's why he's so good.
Not a lot, I should have imagined. From what I know, anyway.
And so he commissioned the series, and then... So we started developing it with Simon, and then Simon quickly got Tom George, the director, involved because we knew we had a year to write it until we could start filming, just because Simon was doing another show. So that felt like a long time at the time, but it was valuable because it meant we had time to get it right. And
you were constantly learning from
Simon.
Learning. It was a big creative hub, obviously.
Yeah, and the last 5 years, as hard as it was our apprenticeship in a way. That we learned how to write and we knew what we didn't want to do and stuff like that. So we had Tom George involved again. An amazing visionary. Got on with him straight away. He's so talented, and it became a really collaborative thing between the four of us. So it wasn't just me and Daisy creating the show. It was all four of us doing it together, and that was so important. And normally in the show, a director will come on a month before, just as probably after all the roles are cast, and they have no input in the script or the story. So this was such a different process. So yeah, Tom was there from the very beginning, and he and the great thing about four of us is that we're not tied into our roles as a writer, performer, director, producer. We all separately do all those things. So Simon would help with the writing the story. Tom would do that as well. But then when it comes to, shooting, me and Daisy would be directing. And so it was a really good creative collaboration.
When did Curtain come into it? Because we've got Kerry at the moment. Where did he come from?
I've completely missed that.
Because I think I've heard about how he came in.
There's just
but
so much.
I don't know if it's true or not.
What do you mean?
about where the name came from.
Oh yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah,
Right.
the Big Brother thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay.
Anyway, they don't want to know. It's fine. It's fine.
So okay. Sorry if this is like therapy. I'm so sorry. It feels like
I've done my job.
I must be boring you so much, but there's just so much to say.
So, is anybody bored? Thank you very much.
I don't believe that. I'm fucking bored.
I'm not. It's all right. I've only got a few more minutes. Crack on.
Oh, crap. Okay. So yeah, when we went back to the BBC and Shane commissioned the series, he said he invited us to do a live stand-up he invited Daisy, to do the character Kerry for a thing called the Salford Sitcom Showcase, which they do every year in Salford, at the BBC place there. And Daisy was like, yeah, I'm up for it. I'll do it, but only if Charlie does it with me. I was like, no, you've got to be kidding. I've never done anything before, other than being a tree in a nativity play in about year 5. And I was fucking good, actually. And so she said, you have to do it with me. You know, we'll think of this character. We sort of became a version of what the original Dale, what Michael Soccer played in The Taster. So it became a version of that, but without any of the love stuff, because it just got in all the way of the comedy. And then we sort of I don't know why. I just thought, oh, fuck it, I'll just do it. And we knocked together like a really brief, sort of 10, 15 minute set. And it was really bad. But we did it in front of an audience. And I'd never done anything. And I don't know where it came from, but I sort of got through it. And it didn't go down particularly well. But it was, again, for me to be in front of an audience and doing something was amazing. And it completely...
Did you enjoy it?
I did, in a weird way. And even though it didn't go particularly well, but I'd realised, that 5 years of reading the script out in the accent and doing the voice, and I was subconsciously that was my practice for being that character.
Yeah.
And so it became so easy to me in the end because I was already doing it. And it was sort of Daisy that sort of gave me a kick up the arse and was like, right, you're in the show. So we sort of, and it became Curtin, and the idea Curtin had these sort of Curtin hairstyle. But the name Curtin came from, I think we met these guys in a pub years ago. Oh no, this one guy, and he was talking about his best mate Curtin. And the name always stuck with us because it's just, you can immediately imagine what he looks like. And he was like, yeah, me and my mate Curtin, right? We are so funny, right? What we're going to do, we're going to go on Big Brother next year, but we're going to apply to go on as a pair because we are such a laugh together. Like on our own, we're not that much of a laugh, but together we'll win it. And I was just like, fuck, that's so good. And you can just imagine he's got Curtin hairstyles and he's really thin. Luckily I was. So a bit of a sort of boy racer. And that was, as soon as I heard the name, the character was like that. It was just born. And so we started developing the show. We had that year. And then, I was going to say something.
Where were we? Curtin.
Developing, so we were quite lucky because at the time the execs at BBC were sort of job hopping, and I never had to audition. We sort of just said, oh yeah, by the way, Charlie's going to be in it, and no one really batted an eyelid, even though I was so lucky because, you would never get, in most situations, I would never get past people. And I sort of snuck in through the back door when no one was looking. And once I was there, no one was going to get rid of me. So I was like, yeah, I've got this, it's fine. And so we, got 6, I think we were commissioned 4 episodes to begin with, our first series. But Simon said, right, rather than do 4 20-minute episodes, because you can't really get into it after 4 episodes, let's do 6 15-minute episodes on the same budget. And we wrote 6 episodes and ended up overshooting. So we ended up delivering 6 22-minute episodes, but for the same price as 4 episodes, which is great because,
I bet BBC loved you.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, and we got money for that as well, thank God. And again, yeah, which was amazing. And it was a shoestring budget, but again, it helps because you have to be more creative with the writing. So one of the episodes, Oven Space, which actually became my favourite, was an episode we had to write. Simon was like, there's not enough money to do an episode sort of around the village. So you've got to do one episode with just 2 characters in one room. And that's an amazing challenge. And we had so many different ideas, and I think it came together. That was the last episode we finished writing, and we were still writing it as we were shooting. And me and Daisy were like, we had an idea about, me and Daisy actually had a proper fight in a kitchen about Oven Space, about pizza. It was a proper fist fight. Like clumps of hair just being thrown around. And then after fighting, sort of like wiping the blood from our cheeks, we're like, this is probably a good idea for an episode. And then it was clicked, and it was like, oh God, this should be the bottleneck episode where it's just us 2 in the kitchen, and, you know, the whole episode takes the same time as it takes for a pizza to cook, and we're like, okay. So we sort of knocked together this script in, you know, literally a few hours. It's the quickest one we ever wrote. And then I remember sending it to Simon, and he said, this is great, but it needs something else. You can't just be that one thing of just fighting over food. So he's like, could we introduce an uncle character who they're waiting for, who's coming out of prison and never turns up? And we're like, oh, yeah, sort of could be funny. But then we started talking about it, and yeah, it was perfect for that episode. And it just, yeah, and we shot that in 2 days, and we were really finding our feet. I mean, we were finding our feet the whole time in that series, and it was so, yeah, it was just magic. It was just so special, sort of all experiencing that thing for the first time, because I think as the director and producer as well, we're all quite inexperienced, but so it was really exciting, and it was so creative, and we did a lot of improv, and that was something that Daisy always wanted to do. She's so good at it. And we'd always make sure at the end of every scene, the camera would be left running, and it was only 2 cameras. And we'd get so much good stuff from that. And that we only had 17 days, I think, to shoot the first series. And we were so lucky with weather. I mean, because most of it is shot outside. And it was like the perfect storm of loads of different things. And it just was magic. It just came together.
Charlie, do you feel now that this is your path and you've found
No, I want to go back to finish my degree. Sport. No, yeah, of course. Everyone was shocked then. You're like, fuck. One day. Fuck, yeah, still got to pay it back.
Well, geez, Charlie, there's still so much more I want to
I've
talk
only just started. This is therapy. Can we do this every week?
We'll do it we'll do it. Our favourite pub, mine and Charlie's favourite pub, is the Woolpack in Slad. Does anybody know that pub? Don't find it. That's our favourite pub. You're not allowed. It's where Laurie Lee used to go and drink, and he's buried across the way. It's a fantastic pub. We found out that was our favourite pub, so I'm sure we'll carry on.
You just see me sort of slumped, sort of talking while he's.
But look, yeah, still, I just want to thank you so much for coming on, and congratulations for the success.
Thank you.
I know we all think it's a fantastic series, and everybody's chuffed to bits with all the awards. Long may it continue, my friend.
Thank you. And thank you for coming today.
Thank you so much for coming out. Charlie Cooper, ladies and gentlemen.
And our first birthday episode is done with Charlie Cooper. How about that? It was brilliant, wasn't it? I love that. And a huge thank you to Charlie for coming out to Bath on that very rainy evening. And thanks to the massive audience that came. It was brilliant. And after that, we packed up, and myself, producer Griff, and Charlie carried on talking, and we went for a quick pint before we went home. And it was a great, great night. Now, you're thinking, that's it till next week, but it's not. Stay tuned. Episode 51 with the Reverend himself, Mr. John McClure, is coming up for you, I think, around midday. We're going to get that out to you. So, until then, I've been Craig Parkinson, he's been producer Griff, and this has been The Birthday, the Two Shot Podcast. I'll see you in a bit. The Two Shot Podcast is presented by me, Craig Parkinson, recorded and produced by Thomas Griffin for Splicing Block. Our music, our brilliant music, is courtesy of Then Thickens. Cheers.